Hi, hello, and how are you? That's right, ladies and gentlemen, that Rockwell timepiece says it's time. So come on in and stay a while. It's time to get coached up with another edition of the Coach Scott Field Show. I'm a proud brand ambassador for the Rockwell Company. And if you go to rockwelltime.com, ROCKWELLTIME.com, and use the code Coach20, you will receive 20% off of any of the merchandise you see there on that website, whether it be timepieces, whether it be backpacks, whether it be shirts, all kinds of cool merchandise there. Phenomenal company and a phenomenal brand. Like and follow the Coach Scott Field Show on Facebook. And also don't forget to subscribe and invite friends to subscribe to the Coach Scott Field Show on YouTube. If you're watching us on DBTV, I say thank you so much for your continued support. I'm hearing that we have over 350,000 viewers a day on that network, and the opportunity to be seen in over 300 million homes around the globe. You can also catch us on CSTV on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. or out of Chicago, the Rewind Sports 60. I sure appreciate your continued support. And the reason this show works are phenomenal guests like I have with me today. Coach Jeff Nix is probably one of the most kind, most respected, one of the most humble coaches that has gone through the ranks of college and professional basketball. He never did it for the fame, never did it for the glory. He did it for the pure joy of the game and to develop talented young athletes. Coach Jeff Nix, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, Scott, thank you. Happy to be with you.
Thrilled to have you with us to share your knowledge, your experience, your expertise, and also share stories of some of the wonderful people that you and I know and that are just phenomenal people that people will know and have watched on TV for the last several decades in the game of basketball.
Well, both of us have been very, very blessed and very fortunate to work with not only good coaches and good people, but we're just in a good space, both of us, for the fruits of the labor of working in basketball.
Amen to that. And blessed is an understatement, Coach. And it's so fun to do these shows and have people like you come on who have had great success and have gone through the ranks. And to me, our industry is all about relationships, and you and I have known each other for years. So to have you sitting across from me now to be on this show, trust me, it just truly warms my heart. So thank you for being of service, for the show.
Hey, I'm excited about it. You do a great job. So this will
Thank
be a
you.
lot of fun today.
Oh, you bet. Coach, you spent a lot of time. I mean, you've coached at Canisus, you've coached at St. Francis, Loyola, Maryland, Xavier, Notre Dame, where I grew up in Indiana. Man, the coaches that you've been able to learn from as you were putting your philosophies and things together. Talk about some of those coaches that you've worked with and some of the things that you took from them as you were kind of climbing the ranks and being a phenomenal assistant coach at those levels.
Well, I'll tell you the initial story I'd like to explain to you or mention to you is, my time at Canisus College, a great university, good people, but I was in the middle of a transition after my freshman year. The coach who recruited me, Jon McCarthy, was let go. Nick McCartchuk comes in. I have an injured knee, required a couple operations. And, in my mind, I'm thinking, new coach, I'm injured. He wants me out the door. And I couldn't get that out of my mind. I thought, what am I going to do next? And the assistant coach was Howard Dickerman, a longtime assistant at UConn and Central Connecticut head coach. And both of them are just wonderful human beings. And Nick mentioned to me at one point, said, hey, would you like to coach a JV team? So I go from a mindset of thinking, where am I going to go next? He's going to try to throw me off scholarship, throw me out of the program. And that's all I could think about with Nick McCartchuk. He wanted to get rid of me. When in reality, in his mind, he thought that I could serve him in a different role, and that's how I got started in coaching. I went to Canisus as a business major. I thought I'd be in a marketing firm or advertising or selling insurance. The last thing I ever thought was that I'd catch the coaching bug. And it started at Canisus College with Nick McCarchick and Howard Dickerman. And it's just a great start. And from there, I went to St. Francis of Pennsylvania, worked for a great coach in Dave McGarity. Then to Loyola, Maryland with Mark Amatucci, who came from the high school ranks. He was the head coach at Calvert Hall High School. Dwayne Farrell and some of those players, #1 in the country. And then the opportunity to go to Xavier with Pete Gillen, who was one of the great coaches in college basketball, and eventually, Pete came to Xavier from Notre Dame.
Yep.
So I knew that the next move for me was to go with Digger Phelps to Notre Dame, and that started back at Canisus when Western New York, it's either you're a Penn State football fan or you're a Notre Dame football fan. That's kind of the dividing lines for that area. Me growing up in Western New York, the Southern Tier, and only in Portville, New York, I always loved Notre Dame. So I started in college going and working Digger Phelps' summer basketball camp at Notre Dame, and Jim Barron and Danny Nee, and just an unbelievable Bob Hill coach there at summer camp. We had some unbelievable coaches. And so by the time I worked my way through 3 or 4 colleges, and my relationship with Coach Phelps at Notre Dame was solid, I knew that when Jim Barron left his staff, and Jim left to go to St. Francis of PA, where I coached, to be the head coach, that my next move was to go to Notre Dame with Digger. So
Wow.
it was, I was very, very fortunate to work with some great people and excellent teachers of the game. Probably and I tell people this, and it has nothing to do with the level of coaches that I worked with, from Pat Riley to Don Nelson to Jeff Van Gundy to Digger Phelps. And I've told them this before face to face, is my coach at Loyola College was Mark Amatucci. And Mark came obviously from Calvert Hall, the high school ranks. To this day, and I've been in some really, really good practices, he might have been 1 or 1A in how to run a basketball practice.
Wow.
Mark was unbelievable. The way he kept every basket occupied, every player, there were no breaks. Every player was doing something. They weren't on the main court. They're on the side with the assistants doing a drill, then back into the drills on the main court. He just kept everyone involved. So that was a good wake-up call for me, young in my career, to be working for Mark and realizing that, there's a lot of good that can come out of players on the sideline observing, hey, you're next in line to that spot, so don't screw it up. Watch the guy ahead of you. To you're on the sideline, we can do something to make you better. In the meantime, micing drills, dribbling drills, whatever, for 10 or 20 seconds, and then get back in line. And Mark was a master in managing a practice.
Wow. Coach, I love to hear that, because it sounds like there was no downtime, no idle time, no standing around, no time to get cold. Keep them on skill development, keep them on, progressing as an athlete, working on weaknesses. When I hear stories like that and I hear those details, to me, that's what makes a successful program.
No question. And I think it also goes back to the perception of coaches. And many times the coaches that you see on television every Monday, Wednesday, well, heck, it's every night now, the primetime coaches, the Caliparis, the Krzyzewskis, the Bill Selfs, all those type of coaches. There are several coaches at different levels just below them that never get a chance, who are outstanding coaches. And one guy who had that chance is John Beilein. He goes from Lemoyne and Syracuse, New York, D2, D3, and then he gets to Canisus, and then to West Virginia, then to Michigan. And I think Jon is one of the all-time great coaches in college basketball. And but he got a chance
Yep.
because of some connections. There were some family connections from way back with Canisus, and he got an opportunity. But there's so many good coaches at junior college, Division III, high school that grind away every day, just as hard as the big time coaches, maybe even a little bit harder. And what the Mark Schmitz at St. Bonaventure, great coach. It's just they just never get a chance. So and sometimes people don't understand how good they are at what they do, not only in basketball but just developing young men or young women, to give them a chance to not only enhance their basketball skills but just their life skills also. And I had a conversation last week with one of my high school teammates, and it's a sad story from the standpoint I haven't talked to him in 45 years.
Wow.
And we were talking, I pulled off on the side of the road in Western New York, and he said, Jeff, do you think Coach DeLand was a good coach, our high school coach, Ray DeLand? And I said, Al, I think he was a very good coach. He goes, I'm glad you said that, because so do I. And the reason I mentioned that is, and Al's a year older than me, so he's getting up there, but through the years, he's playing in those adult men's leagues. He's 55 years old out there. And he's had players come up to him and say, you really know how to play. You know how to pass, you know how to cut, He goes, you must have been coached really well. And I guess it was me trying to validate. We were both validating each other what we thought of Coach DeLand. But he was a high school coach. He was a great coach and a wonderful human being. So this just goes back to, there's so many people that make an impact in your life. And it's just the building steps, that the bricks that are built early, they never leave you.
Yeah.
The solid ones.
Coach, I'm so glad to hear you mention those names and talk about guys who do a phenomenal job and do it with passion, do it with purpose, and maybe never got a break or an opportunity. Because I too been blessed to have coached, college level professionally, FIBA, a sip of tea in the NBA. And I've gone into some practice and seen some guys organize things and develop players and do a quality job with relationship, but they were excellent communicators, excellent teachers of the game, able to identify roles and responsibilities and get buy-in from the players. And those guys, like you said, impact lives and impact communities in ways that don't get recognized or don't get a lot of notoriety. So for you to share and say that, I'm grateful for that, because I too have seen many, just like my high school coach, I feel did a great job. I grew up in the state of Indiana where we're shooters. I mean, you was at Notre Dame. You saw Indiana high school basketball.
Oh, yeah.
So I felt blessed to grow up in that environment. And similar to you, Coach, the college coach that I played for, he threw me a life jacket and allowed me to come in and finish my undergraduate degree with him. And so I was the same age as the guys I was coaching and younger than some of them, but yet that life jacket showed me that this is what I wanted to do the rest of my life. So similar to your story where, your playing career ends, you know what, to have that life jacket thrown at you and someone to provide an opportunity for you to test the waters and get your feet wet. You and I both got our starts that way, and I'm beyond grateful, and I can never say enough gratitude to Coach Randy Unger for providing me that opportunity, just like, your coach did for you.
Yeah, Randy's a heck of a coach too. Yeah.
Great guy. Just a great guy. Yeah. We know.
And congratulations on the future induction here of the Indiana Sports Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Coach, thank you.
That is a great honor. And the people listening out here, we talk Indiana basketball. People have no idea the intensity and the importance of that ball and that round goal means to that state. And it's important. It's important stuff. And for you to be recognized, uh, that's an unbelievable honor.
Coach, I'm beyond humbled and grateful. When I received the phone call, I'm just going to be honest with you. I received the phone call and I teared up. I just couldn't believe that I was being inducted this August. So the first person I called, of course, was my wife, and I couldn't even get it out. I was so choked up saying that we'd received that honor. And then as soon as I hung up, I tried to tell my family, my mom and my dad. And for my name to be mentioned with the Larry Birds, the Bobby Knights, the Digger Phelps, the Gene Cadys, the Reggie Millers. I mean, the first thing that came to my mind, did they really lower their standards that much?
Did they run out of people? Did they run out of people?
Yeah. Oh
No,
my
but you mentioned that, and it's funny. Within probably the last 2 weeks, I'm going through the TV, and here's Hoosiers,
right?
and at the end and Marv Wood was the coach of Milan back in the day, the real coach.
Yeah.
And at the end of his career, he was living in South Bend, so I would see him fairly often. And then he was coaching women's basketball at St. Mary's College across the street from Notre Dame.
That's right.
And you wouldn't have found a more humble gentleman in your life compared to the perception of his career and the movie and everything coming out. But Marv was just such a wonderful human being, and he was at the high end. And you won the state championship back then, where it was just one class.
That's right. Yeah.
That's pretty significant. And it's interesting the amount of discussion and that went into when they went to the classifications of different classes in the state of Indiana.
Yeah.
For high school basketball. That was a really big issue. Like a lot of people didn't want to do that.
Yep.
Because it was a standard that they were all in this together and see who comes out. Big, small, whatever. But
yep.
It was just Indiana basketball is different, and people don't understand that until you see it.
I was blessed that I grew up with that non-classification. So when I was still a junior and senior in high school, we didn't have a 3-point line. We didn't have classification. Our teams playing against the big city schools where I just grew up in a small rural area. You being a historian, I mean, I played at the same high school as Ted Kitchell, who played at Indiana University for Coach Knight.
Yeah.
Jon Kitchell, his cousin, played at Purdue. So those guys were my role models. Those guys were my inspiration. I was like, well, if they could go from shooting the hoop in the barn and filling up the gym on a Friday and Saturday night, just maybe I could make it too. So to be able to mention those names is pretty cool. And then, Coach, next week, I'm having Coach Al Gooden come on, and he's the first African-American to win 500 career games as a high school coach. Can't wait to have him come on next week and share his stories and share his journey with us. So again, the names of people that have been ambassadors for the game, just like yourself, who are historians and know it and understand it and have expertise in having conversations about it. Boy, it's so fun to be able to sit here and share this time with you.
Yeah, and I stay in touch with Jon Kitchell.
Yeah,
we worked Notre Dame's basketball camp together.
Yeah,
he was playing at Purdue, and Jon and I text back and forth, and he's a hardworking farmer and in Indiana. And a funny story, when they went to the NIT, just like St. Bonaventure, back in the NIT was the tournament.
That's right.
And Coach Katie took them to the finals at Madison Square Garden. And I said, well, I'm going to go because I want to see Jon. Jon was playing. I want to see Jon play. And I slept on the floor of his room in the Hotel Pennsylvania across the street from Madison Square Garden. Now, that's a long time ago, but that's the love of basketball that we all have.
Yeah, I love it. Yes,
you do whatever it takes.
And to think Jon was blessed that he was able to go full circle. He went back and was the head coach of Lewis Cass High School for a short time and did an amazing job impacting that community and coming back and giving back to the community, which catapulted him to be able to play at Purdue.
Yeah, he's a good man. Good man.
Oh, great man, great family, and just as pure a heart as you can have. So,
Yeah.
wow, I love that stuff, Coach.
Yeah.
You mentioned, Coach Pete Gillen, and you mentioned Coach Digger Phelps. Talk about some of the things that you learned from Coach Gillen, just his character and the life skills that you picked up from him and the lessons and then we'll get into Digger Phelps.
Well, Pete, Pete was born Brooklyn, New York, and he's all New York, and probably the funniest person you ever want to have a conversation with. I mean, he has some great witty comments and comebacks, but he's such a detailed, intense coach, and that was back when he hired me to be on his staff from Loyola, and then he went to the high school ranks and grabbed the coach to be our other assistant coach, and that name was Skip Prosser.
Wow, wow, yep.
And that goes all the way. Once again, it's the Notre Dame summer basketball camp.
Yep.
And Skip worked there. Dino Gaudio worked with Skip because he was his assistant coach in high school. So it's all, we're all connected through Digger's summer basketball camp. So here's Skip Prosser coming along with us from the high school ranks, and clearly, you didn't have to teach Skip much. I mean, he was a pro's pro and a heck of a coach, and rest his soul. I mean, lost him way too early.
Amen.
But Pete was, Pete's background. Obviously, he came from Notre Dame, working with Digger. He was at Villanova with Rowley. So Rolly Massimino. So, he had such a detailed approach to the game and practice, and he's a 5-star legend, and I think it might have been Station 13. That was the teaching station. I think it was 13 or 15. I don't know what it was, but that was one of Pete's things, and he just had such an intensity and a drive, but also a caring nature and approach to delivering messages that in today's world, today's kids probably wouldn't be able to accept it.
Yeah.
They would look at it as criticism instead of, something constructive and to get better.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. Pete was so detailed, and I'll give you a quick example. When I left to go to Notre Dame with Digger, he says, okay, but you got to know these 3 people, you got to do this, and you better know where the band is for the opponents and what ball they're using. And that was the key, because back then you could do live scouting, and so Pete was always that was always a big thing at Xavier. It was what kind of ball they're using, because if they're using a Nike ball or a Wilson ball, we practiced 2 or 3 days leading up to the game with the ball that we're going to play there, and then where's the band? That's little detail, every little detail. He
meticulous. Yes.
Yeah, not only what's in the confines of 94 by 50, but okay, where's the shot clock's at? What happens if the shot clock goes down? Where are they going to put the portable one, on our side or across from us?
Love it.
Just really a detailed oriented person, and just a great coach. I talked to him yesterday. I'll see him next week at this Brooklyn Basketball Hall of Fame dinner.
Wow.
Where they're Jeff Rulin, they're inducting.
Rules.
Yeah, Jeff's coming in. Barry Rorison, Slice, the old longtime assistant coach. Yeah, so it's going to be a really, really nice event, and then also Pete is going to. I'm involved with the Coaches versus Cancer at St. Bonaventure with Mark and Anita Schmidt, which is my passion right now. It's I think when you go through the coaching, I know we're getting off the line here a little bit.
No.
I think when you're coaching, and you go from college, and then I was fortunate enough through Digger and Jon Mcloud to get to the Knicks with Pat Riley.
Mm.
You do 15 years there, and then that ends, and then you're kind of rudderless a little bit, and you don't feel like you're on a team. And I've always been on a team. And you go to, when it all finished up, my last stop at the NBA was for 2.5, 3 years ago now with Minnesota. And then you don't hear from anybody anymore. I can't help anybody in the league anymore. So you're kind of wandering and listless a little bit. And then Mark and Anita said, "Hey, why don't you come and help us out with Coaches versus Cancer?" So now I'm on a team, and I look at that. This is the most important team I'm on, because we got to find some cures here and raise some money. I got a little boy from my hometown, Colt Motts. He's 12 years old, and he's struggling right now. He's up in Buffalo at the cancer hospital, and they're taking good care of him. But we got a lot of prayers going up for him. But being part of something is what makes us all feel better. And
that's right.
And
God bless you for that.
And Mark and Anita and the friends in Olean and Portville, New York. It's good to be back on a team. So
and let's be honest. Some of the most important work you're doing, because that's winning in the game of life and providing resources for families who are struggling. So yes, prayers to that young man and his family and all who are being touched by that. So Coach, congratulations to you on that, because again, we need more people doing those types of services to give back and provide. And to me, that's Hall of Fame character right there, my friend.
I appreciate that, but
that's sincere. That's sincere.
But it's working with good people, and that's where you tug some heartstrings, but you're doing the right thing.
You bet.
You're trying to take care of people. So
amen. Yeah. You mentioned a minute ago, and I wanted to circle back to it because I'm such a historian of the game myself. Yeah. And I heard you say 5-star, and immediately my mind jumps to the Poconos and thinking of the coaches that came through 5-star and what Howard Garfinkle did, because you got, Hubie Brown, phenomenal teacher who still on his broadcast shares insights and takes you to depths with meticulous details that others oversee and overlook and don't talk about. So Hubie Brown, Rick Pitino's, think of the coaches that came through 5-star and the relationships with those coaches and the things that you could learn from as you saw those stations being taught in the Poconos. Kind of talk about that a little bit and mention some of those names, because, man, there are some dandies there.
You know what? Howard Garfinkle and then Tom Konchowski, just good people that, and for the viewers and listeners out there that aren't aware of 5-star, please search it, 5-star basketball camp, because you start talking about the Fratellos and Hubie Brown, who, I'll listen to him every day, every night if I could, watching the game.
That's right.
He is so good at 89, 90 years old. And, you think you go all the way back there when he was at Niagara University.
With Coach Frank Layden.
He was Frank's roommate. He was Frank's roommate.
Right.
Oh, yeah. So it's really too bad, because today's youth, they only know like the all-star camps.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go there and we're going to play 5 games a day and and go to the canteen and go to sleep. At 5-star, you learned how to play the game.
Yes.
And the players that went through 5-star, from Patrick Ewing to Michael Jordan to
Alonzo Mourning,
everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody went through there, and they came out a better player at the end of the week.
Yeah.
And between Honesdale and Pittsburgh at Robert Morris, Howard Garfinkle and what they put together was just unbelievable. It was a good time in my life. And you bring it up as we would go, obviously, as assistant coaches to scout players and find out who we can recruit, but you also would go to those things to take notes on the college coaches or the pro coaches who are coming in to give the lecture of the day or the lecture of the week or the station 13 or whatever it was. You're taking notes on players, but I got to get better as a coach. I'm going to listen to these. I'm going to listen to these guys. And you know what? It was a great time, and it's just too bad it's just not like it used to be anymore, because that was what basketball is all about at the youth level.
Amen.
Just learning the game to play the right way.
Yeah, and Coach, I'm gonna elaborate on that, because you mentioned how they became great players, but I think life lessons and the discipline and the hard work and the meticulous attention to detail with footwork and mechanics and big man moves and the clinicians who taught there year after year, those are skills that are being missed now with AAU grassroots basketball, because now it seems like there's more emphasis put on what endorsements or what entitlement and what things they're going to be given, instead of teaching the game the right way. And I feel like that's something that's truly missing, which could be a whole nother show and another discussion. But I'm glad, you put your thumb on that pulse, because I'm telling you, great kids, great players turned into great characters who continue to go back and impact their communities today.
Yeah, if I was going to put a comparison to 5-star, as far as when the players wake up in the morning at 5-star, I'll go back to my days in New York with the Knicks. I remember coming, take the subway to work, and you come out of the subway tunnel onto the main street, and it's on. And if you're not ready, because people are moving and the world is going fast, and whether they're going to their job or whatever, it is all out. It can get intense at times, because people in New York City, it's they're a proud group, but you come out of the subway tunnel at 8 o'clock in the morning and people are on the move, and you better step up and get on the move too. And that's and I think that's how it was coming. When the players at 5-star got out of bed and they walked out towards the court, it was on. And let's go. And we're going to learn a lot today. And you're going to play hard, and you're going to sleep really well tonight.
Oh, you were looking forward to that sleep by that day.
Exactly.
Great analogy, Coach. And I'm glad again that you touch on that, because again, those are things that are missing in today's game and in today's society, where we see thousands of kids being in these transfer portals right now, and the sense of entitlement and the character building that's being lost, through this, new grassroots level basketball with AAU. That I'm glad you're talking about it, because it reinvigorates me and reminds me that, that's what it was truly all about: the teaching and the repetition and the competition on those courts, because that was the best competing against the best. And the coaches wanted to show that, I've got something to teach, and that respect was earned by those teachers on the court that day.
Exactly. A great experience. A great experience if you're in the camp, a great experience if you're an outside coach coming in to view the players or watch the other coaches teach. It was a home run.
Yeah.
That's why it was called 5. That's why it was 5-star.
That's right. And how about the credit that Garfinkle doesn't get enough of? Because you know what? His foresight and vision for what he wanted and what he created, I don't think he or his family know or understand how great that was, and what a visionary he was to put that in motion.
Yeah, he sure was. And just, I believe he's getting in the Hall of Fame this year. I think so. I think he's getting in this year. But a well-deserved honor. But unfortunately, it took a lot of people from behind pushing to get Howard Garfinkle to that level of admiration or recognition. It's just too bad.
Well, the credibility of the coaches that were involved, and the assistant coaches, and the camp counselors, getting everybody to where they need to be from breakfast to the courts. It became a well-oiled machine that is so sorely missed right now.
Exactly.
Love it, Coach. Well, let's go back to Digger Phelps, because man, what a classy guy who, with going against the Bobby Knights and the Gene Cadys and of course, Ball State, but he's out there battling, trying to get those Indiana kids, but just did a great job. And, you mentioned, Coach Gillen and look at those Xavier teams that he also
Oh, yeah.
built up that competed, that put guys in the NBA. But talk about Coach Digger Phelps for a moment, because again, me being an Indiana guy, knowing the success, and you mentioned another name too, Coach Jon Mcloud. I was
Yeah.
coaching at Chaminade University against a Jon Mcloud who had Monty Williams and a Ryan
Yeah.
Hoover on that Notre
Yeah.
Dame team. So,
Yeah. So I was with Monty his whole career at Notre Dame.
yeah,
LaFonso
yeah.
Ellis, Elmer Bennett, Keith Tower. We had some good players. Joe Frederick,
Ooh.
Jameer Jackson. We had some good players.
And look how great of a person Monty Williams is, as
Uh,
far as his character and his family and his ability to communicate and to take that Phoenix franchise right now and hold those players accountable, even though he has some great talent. The way he manages and the way he communicates, I'm gonna tell you what, he leads with his heart, and I admire that.
no, Monty is a man of faith, extreme faith, and
Amen.
he went through a terrible time with a tragedy with his family and
That's right.
lost his wife, and it was really really a tough situation. But he hung and stuck through it, and Coach Popovich at San Antonio gave him a chance to come down and coach, and he's a heck of a coach. And you're right, he comes across low key, but he he got unbelievable respect throughout the league, and just a good, solid human being.
And I'm going to say this, Coach. I don't mean to cut you off, but if you haven't taken the time to hear the leadership of Monty Williams when his wife did tragically pass, and the character of his speech at that wake
Oh,
and ceremony, I'm going to tell you what, if that doesn't give you goosebumps, you don't have a pulse. Because I'm going to tell you what, the class that he had, not only for his kids and his family, but for the other members who were tragically lost in that accident. I'm going to tell you what, you can't be any more first class than Coach Williams on that day in that time, and his message that he delivered. Go watch that on YouTube if you haven't, viewers, because it is moving.
it sure is, and the compassion he had for the other family who hit his wife head on,
Right.
the family member. It was unbelievable how someone. This is where you have extreme faith, and Monty's got such strong faith that he could get up and speak at that moment in that situation, be eloquent and caring and compassionate for people. He wasn't thinking of himself and his kids. He was thinking about the other family that lost someone also, and that takes a lot. That's a lot of man there.
Oh,
That's a lot of. That's a
amen,
lot of.
Coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amen. And I just, that's why I say I wanted to take a second just to recognize that, because
Yeah.
if they haven't taken the time to see it, I implore them to do that, because I'm gonna tell you what,
Yeah.
you will be moved eternally and it will touch your soul. And I hope that people take the time to do that. Coach, I mean, you've been able to, I mean, you mentioned you've been with, Jeff Van Gundy, you've been with Pat Riley's. I mean, talk about those Pat Riley years in New York where, I mean, you talk about some competitive battles and Patrick Ewing and that group of guys that was with that team. Talk about those years and how you reflect back, because when you're going through it, I mean, it's hard to enjoy the moment, but when you reflect back, how about those Pat Riley years and those New York Knicks times where you guys were together?
Well, I think first of all, I'm grateful Pat hired me, and the backstory of that was Jon Mcloud was the head coach at Notre Dame. Digger retired. He kept myself and Fran McCaffrey, the current Iowa coach. Fran and I were assistants to Digger. John kept both of us. And then when this position opened up with the Knicks, with Pat, he asked me if I would be interested, and I said, of course. And it worked out. Next thing I know, I'm with Pat Riley, which is crazy.
Wow.
But just an unbelievable communicator, coach. You talk about attention to detail, it's off the charts. Uh, but I think where people sometimes miss what a great coach he is he's one of the very few, I don't know if very many can do this, change the style of play. He goes from Showtime in the Lakers up and down the court and gets to New York and says, okay, I got to reanalyze my background and how I want to play, what's best for this team and how we want to play.
That's right.
So he did a 180 in his coaching, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that.
That's true.
You know, most coaches just move along and keep their same system wherever they go. He had to do a complete change of, you know, Magic and Worthy and Cooper and up and down to Kareem and to Charles Oakley and Patrick Ewing and Derek Harper and Doc Rivers and John Starks, and just complete, utter toughness. Now,
Yeah.
I could probably, you know, and I'm sure, I saw Reggie Miller, who I saw him on the Dan Patrick show the other day, and a big Reggie fan. And people in New York will probably wonder, why is that? Number one, he's a great player. And number two, he, pound for pound, the toughest player I have ever seen play the game of basketball. And I saw him take some hits in some of those unbelievable games we had with the Pacers. And they had the Davis boys, they had Schmitz, Byron Scott, Chris Mullen. They had some players, you know, and between Mason and Oakley and Ewing, and I mean, they would hit Reggie so hard. I remember one time Reggie went down the lane at the beginning of the game and he went down. And I said to Jeff Van Gundy, I don't think he's going to get up. He bounced straight up, went to free throw line like nothing. Like nothing ever happened. 2 free throws, of course, made, and went down the other court like nothing. And I'm just saying to myself, he has to be hurting on that one. He has to be, his bones and muscles have to be aching, but he never showed it. And you talk about a primetime guy that showed up every night. You know, Reggie Miller is that guy.
Yeah.
But the players we had with the Knicks and the attention to detail with Pat, from, you know, when he first hired me, my job was assistant coach, advanced scout. So I'm out ahead of the team, 2 or 3 games, doing all the scouting reports, player personnel reports. And you had to use a certain pen. You had to use blue cardstock paper. All of our scouting reports, they had all the diagrams on it, 9 diagrams. Back then, there were no computers, so it's all hand written out, you know, hand drawn and written out. And it'd be coming down in the middle of the night. You're trying to get this report done. You get down to the ninth half court. You diagram it a play, and your arm slips, and you do a little screwy off to the side. And the ink goes the other way, and you say, okay, Pat's not going to like this. Tear it back up, go back up, start with the first play again. But you know, his attention to detail was incredible, and the same thing with Jeff Van Gundy. They were both, I mean, just unbelievable coaches. And I think the thing is, as an assistant coach, you want to feel that the hard work, and there was really hard work with both of them, as far as travel, scouting reports, all those type of things, and coaching with the team, and is you want to feel valued. You want to feel like your work is valued. And I remember all those scouting reports that we used to do. I did most of them the first couple of years before Jeff Bizdelic, who's another great coach.
Oh,
Jeff took my spot, and then I moved to the bench with Pat and Jeff. And then when Jeff took the head coaching job, there's only 2 times, one with Pat and one with Jeff, where they turned to me on the bench and said, what's this play? And most of the time, this is new to me. I don't know. You know, what is that play call? Why? But the backstory on that, as far as feeling like you're worthy of your work, is, you know, that they've studied the scouting reports. And Pat Riley, he knew, and Jeff Van Gundy knew every play, every movement of every opponent. It was incredible. the how their mind captured the game and viewed the game. But only on one occasion with Pat, one with Jeff, they would say, "What's this play?" And if I would reflect back, I know one in particular. Probably both of them were Larry Brown coach teams by the Indiana Pacers, because Larry was always changing the play calls.
Yeah.
And I said, he might have changed it to shoot around this morning. What was 2 up yesterday or 2 up two games ago is like 3 side now. But Larry was a master of, and I'm going to myself, I'm confused. How can this team remember all these plays? But I believe that was probably what it was with Pat and Jeff. It probably was Larry Brown in Indiana.
Wow.
Because he would change calls. But
and I wouldn't be surprised if he changed calls, because on even numbered days, it probably was 2 up. On odd numbered days, the 13th and the 23rd, it was probably the other play.
Exactly. And thank God he had a great point guard, Mark Jackson, who could obviously Mark is great on TV, but
that's right.
He could comprehend all that and keep things in order. But my cap's off, and they were such a great team, and the East at that time was so strong. And not only Boston was good, we were good. Clearly, the Bulls were great, but Indiana was so good, and then Miami was coming up back in the day with Charlotte with
that's
Muggsy
right.
Muggsy Bogues, Alonzo Moore,
after
Larry
expansion,
Johnson. Larry Johnson, Muggsy could really push the ball. So there's so many good coaches and good experiences. But you move to the Knicks in today's world, and I see, they've got the fire lit a little bit. And Tom Thibodeau, Tom is a great coach, and Tom and I were assistants together with the Knicks. And I was thinking today that the success that they're having right now, and you see the Garden is just, the top is blowing off of Madison Square Garden the other night. And I'm thinking, like, who remembers? I said, there's only one person that remembers that feeling from 99 when we were in the NBA Finals, and 94 is Tom.
That's right.
Tibbs is the only one that's left that knows what that feeling is. And back at the old, before they redid the Garden, you had the main center, gate 1, which is the center entrance. And when you walked out for a big game, which most of them are in New York, but playoff games, the finals, the energy, you get goosebumps walking out on the court. And it's just such a great experience. And I'm glad the team is getting a chance to, the Brunsons, and you're starting to experience that. But I'm glad Tom is too, because he deserves it. He deserves to feel that energy again that we experienced back in a long, long time ago.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I want to elaborate too. Because you think about the culture that was created under those Pat Riley years when they had that toughness. And yes, Pat was a master motivator, and he was a great communicator. But what I like about him too, like how he changed from the Showtime Lakers to that tough, hard-nosed, grinded out, grit, battling, banging. Because he had the Oakleys, and he had the Anthony Masons, and he had Pat finishing inside. But yes, to showcase the players that he had, to allow them to utilize their talents, that's where he made that adjustment. And Coach Tibbs, being defensive minded, carrying that culture and tradition onto today, it is fun to see, because you know what, that market has been thirsting for success for a long time. So to see them scratch the surface on it again, and see Coach Tibbs get to raise the Phoenix one more time, it is fun to see from our perspective.
Yeah. And you mentioned Pat as being a great motivator. There were several times during the course of being with him in New York where he might say to Jeff and myself, or just in passing, say, "Hey, you see what happened today? Did you see this? Or, are you aware of this happening in the world today?" Yeah, Coach, we saw. And he would gauge probably our reaction. like, wow, hey, that was crazy that happened. And then it might be 3 games later, in his pregame speech, he would weave that happening or whatever it was into the speech, and kind of based on how we tested it out on us, like our
Yeah.
reaction. And
Yeah.
we were like, at least I wasn't smart enough. Jeff is brilliant. I probably wasn't smart enough to know what the hell was going on at the time. But that was Pat. I mean, he was just a master motivator, and just like all the great coaches, and the coaches I've worked for, I've been very fortunate. But they see all 10 players on the court.
Yep. Yeah. And
Many coaches watch the ball and who's guarding them, and can watch 4 players or whatever. The great ones watch all 10 out there.
That's right. It's like a point guard with that spatial awareness, and even knowing when the referees are out of position, and making sure and holding the referees accountable, saying, "Hey, Dick Bavetta, you need to be on the baseline on that."
But I've been blessed with a lot of things, and when you asked me to come on your show, I was delighted, number one. But I started thinking about the craziness of what I've experienced, and you've been around the world, I've been around the world. It's such a great game.
Oh.
And I'll go way back when LeBron James was in high school, and he was eligible for the draft. So I was in the front office of the Knicks at the time. We could go watch him in high school. And to this day, the best pass I've ever seen made by a basketball player, college, high school, professional, was in Akron, Ohio, and LeBron James. It was incredible. We were sitting courtside. All the NBA scouts were sitting courtside. I was like free throw line extended, and LeBron was in front of us. And a quagmire of the other 8 guys, his teammate, is in the far corner. So 99 out of 100 times, that pass by any other player is going to be a skip pass across the court to the kid in the corner. He fired a bounce pass through the lane, and right on the numbers, the perfect pass. The kid caught it and knocked down a corner jumper. And I'm thinking, number one, how did he see that bounce pass? And number two, how did they get through there? But probably the best pass I've ever seen.
Wow.
And it's a high school kid.
Right.
So, I mean, it's incredible what he's doing now. I mean, he's just a great, great player.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too many times we take that greatness for granted on the court, and we expect them to start to descend, but he hasn't started to descend yet. I mean, he finds different ways. He finds different ways to beat you, but his basketball IQ, spatial awareness, and just knowing where everybody's going to be and putting himself and being, 2 passes ahead. Phenomenal mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And Kobe, bless his soul, Kobe Bryant was the same way.
Yeah.
And I'll go back when he was coming out of high school.
Lower Marion.
Yeah, his agent, Arn Tellem, at the time, wanted him to work out in New York. He had no interest in coming to New York to play for the Knicks. But I think they wanted him to come there for the, the media and work out. So I worked him out, and he was kind of going through the motions. And everything was almost identical to Michael Jordan, the step back jumpers. So afterwards, I said to him, Kobe, hey, good luck. I'm not sure where this is all going to go. There might be a time next year you wished you were in that math class at North Carolina. He looked at me like I had 10 heads, number one. And then fast forward about 2 years later, now we would see each other when we only play twice a year, the Knicks and the Lakers. And he would nod or something like that. So in 2000, Jeff Van Gundy and the East staff for the Knicks were the coaches for the All-Star game at Golden State. Well, Kobe obviously is on the West team. This was a Saturday practice, so we had our little walkthrough practice with the East team. We're walking out. The West team is coming on, and Kobe said, "Hey, coach, come here. Hey, Kobe, how you doing? This beats that math class at Carolina, doesn't it?"
Oh, memory of an elephant.
Oh, unbelievably smart human being. And he remembered I wasn't trying to take a dig at him, but he remembered that. But
Wow.
hey, we both had great lives in basketball, and we could talk forever, I'm sure. So,
Oh, coach, and I would love to have you come back because I feel like we didn't even scratch the
yeah,
surface of the expertise and knowledge and experiences that you've been able to have. So I can't thank you enough. I can't believe, 53, 54 minutes has already gone by.
yeah,
It has been so fun to share this platform with you, to share your knowledge and experience and expertise. Because I'm going to tell you what, I, you deserve your flowers. To me, the Tex Winter Lifetime Achievement Award. You should be a recipient of that here soon, and I think I would love to start that, start
oh
promoting
wow,
for you because, Coach,
wow,
you're phenomenal, and I have nothing but the utmost respect for you as a coach. But most importantly, as a person, we didn't even get into camouflage kids, and
yeah,
but
yeah.
the coaches for cancer. But take 30 seconds to talk about that camouflage kids because that's something special.
Well, what it was, once again, I was outside of it. I got let go by the Knicks, but I started this when I was with the Knicks, and basically it was a nonprofit organization. I tried starting it with Jeff Bizdelik and my friend Ray Stoltz back in Elkhart, Indiana, and the Iraq War was going on, and we just said we got to find a way to take some of these military children to college basketball games, and we did it all over the country, all the academies, about 8 or 9 thousand kids in 3 or 4 years, uh, and we just kind of gave them that 4 hours of not thinking where mom and dad are right now, fighting for for our lives, basically,
Yeah, our
and
freedoms.
our freedom and everyone else. So that was probably the greatest thing I've ever done in my life, is taking care of those kids, and then making 2 trips to Iraq to see the troops and spending time over there. And you find out what we throw around courage all the time and heroes, and we're pretty loose with some of those words. And I saw courage and courage and honor when I
Amen.
saw the troops. So yeah,
Amen.
that was a great thing, and it was a lot of fun. But would love to do it again. We've got a lot more to talk about. Digger's 3 things. We didn't even get to that.
Yeah, we got to have you back, and I know we're going to get so much positive feedback from this episode. But Coach, God bless you. Continue to impact lives. Nothing but the utmost respect for you as a human, and just love seeing your career and the things you've done. But man, let's have you come back real soon, and I mean that.
Would love to do it, Scott. Thank you so much.
God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Jeff Nix, Hall of Fame human and just a quality guy here on the Coach Scott Field Show. I'm telling you, we're going to have him come back because there's so many more stories we can share, and just blessed and honored and a better version of myself just spending this hour with him. Coach, God bless you, and let's have you come back soon, brother.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it.